Welcome into another edition of Late Night Baseball. This will be the last edition of Late Night Baseball in January. We are coming into February. That means you're going to see a lot of videos on the socials about, all these teams packing up their huge freight trucks and driving to Florida and driving to Arizona. I'm already starting to see them, Parker, and every day that passes, I need spring training and I need it bad.
Yeah, the Broncos got eliminated from the NFL playoffs, so that means it's officially baseball season. Everybody, in case you were wondering, that is the marker for when the official season starts, for me at least. And I'm excited because as soon as spring training starts, that's when my league year starts for me. I like to, we're gonna dive into some top prospect stuff today. We're gonna start talking division previews, and all of that is to me baseball new year, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, absolutely. So today we're going to dive into all that. Before we do that, though, wanted to give you guys a preview of what to expect. Because as Parker said, we are going to start doing division previews today where Parker and I dive into each division. We talk about kind of what happened over the offseason, what position these teams are going to be in going into the new baseball season. And then, of course, we'll end those conversations giving you our list 1 through 5 of how we think the division is going to fall come the end of 2026. Before we do that, Parker, like we always do, want to go around, kind of highlight some of the news around the league and pick your brain on some of it, particularly on a significant trade that happened over the last week. The Nationals and Rangers got together. The Nationals sent Mackenzie Gore to the Rangers, and in return, the Nationals got 5 prospects from the Rangers. They're number 3, 8th, 13th, 14th, and 49th prospects. So it was quite a prospect haul. Trades like that we haven't seen in a while, but the Nationals are no strangers to doing prospect hauls like that.
Yeah, I mean, good on the Nationals. They like to do these big prospect hauls, like you mentioned, and then it's kind of Mackenzie Gore is always, going into a season like this, he's always going to be the guy that's kind of the odd man out in terms of he's more valuable than the team is going to be successful. So you're kind of just sitting on an asset. You don't want to find yourself in a situation like the Rockies found themselves when they didn't trade Trevor Story. So go ahead and do the whole thing, especially as these teams are starting to, figure out that they need pieces for their rotation as they head into spring training. Pitchers and catchers there's pitchers right now. Fort Myers, Florida is full of Red Sox pitchers all throwing off mounds. Pitchers have already started to report and they are putting in work, getting ready for the season. So I would not be surprised if Mackenzie Gore is much the same. A good season from him last year, a 3-WAR season, 4.17 ERA in 30 starts. So anytime you can get 30 starts out of a guy, he looks like he's going to be on pace to put up another 160 innings. I like it for the Rangers to keep them competitive, and I really like the prospect return for the Nationals, who are really just kind of still in this perpetual rebuild, but hopefully with the new influx of staffing that they had in the front office, that they're actually going to be able to make moves. If not by taking these prospects and turning it into viable big leaguers, maybe flipping them for viable big leaguers. So good move all around. I like it. I don't think it's groundbreaking, but I don't think it needed to be groundbreaking. I think it's a good enough move that, stuff's still happening at this point in the offseason.
Yeah, I think the Rangers really needed this injection, right? We've talked about them in the past about their lineup being certainly strong up and down, but their rotation, I think, left a little bit to be desired. I mean, let's not forget who's leading that rotation, right? Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi, both guys that when they're good, but you don't know if you're going to get a full 30 starts from them every year. So it's a big question mark for them. And now they have deGrom, Eovaldi, Mackenzie Gore fits right into the 3 spot. Don't forget Jack Leiter, and then really that 5th spot could be a Jacob Lotz or a Kumar Rocker if he finds his stuff this spring. So that's a pretty solid rotation. The Rangers know that they shouldn't be screwing around now, right? We had the Mariners to worry about. Astros seemingly never disappear. So I think they are conscious of the weakness in the rotation, and this could be the lift that they need to stay competitive for all 162.
Right. Yeah, no. Am I crazy? Hold on, let me look and make sure that I'm crazy. I mean this Texas Rangers rotation looks great in terms of can you get a full season of Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi is also in that. I think that part of his career now where we wonder with these guys that throw a lot of splitters, we know that it's one of the more detrimental pitches on your arm. Can Nathan Eovaldi be the guy that he has been for them? I certainly hope so. Mackenzie Gore slots right into this rotation, and he's a great bridge from the solid top 2 starters, a great number 3 option who's going to put up around a 4 ERA to get you to a Jack Leiter, who you hope by the end of the season is that 3 level guy, or maybe even pushing the number 2 spot if he does develop into the guy that we all hope that he does. And then when you look at their bullpen, I mean, it's also pretty good. We look at, anytime Chris Martin's in a bullpen, I get pretty excited because I love the guy.
Mm.
And Alexis Diaz is in there, hoping to get put in some good work for this team. I like the pitching as a whole. The lineup is still pretty solid, even with the departure of Marcus Semien. I still think that anytime that you take Marcus Semien out and you're able to replace him with a Brandon Nimmo, you're probably going 1-for-1 there. So I like the way that their lineup is set up, and it was already one of the better lineups in baseball. They do lose Adolis Garcia, but, you got Danny Jansen on the roster, so I don't know what else you could really want.
Yeah, that just tips the scales, obviously. I want to go to Cleveland, Parker, where Jose Ramirez, man, doing Jose Ramirez things, just helping his franchise out. He received another extension from the Guardians that puts him signed through 2032, which would be his age 39 season, and it restructures the deal for the Guardians to give them more financial leeway. It's $25 million a year for Ramirez. It is $10 million a year in deferrals for arguably the most underrated player in baseball, one of the best hitters in baseball. And this guy is just a unicorn. He is taking the hometown discount again and again to end his career with the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, I love it. Everybody wishes they had this guy. Everybody wishes they had a Derek Jeter, a Jose Ramirez, and all that stuff. You know who I think hates this deal? Like hates it. MLB Players Union.
Of course.
Especially with this negotiation coming up. They got to be like, dude, when you look at, so Baseball Reference has their list of, it's like MVP equity. I forget what the actual statistic is. And I'm looking for it, so I'm not going to be able to find it, or on Baseball Reference. When you look at players and their year by year finish on the MVP chart and the value that represents, there is no player more valuable in the sport of baseball than Jose Ramirez has been over the last, let's say, decade. And it's because he's always top 5 at MVP voting. He is a switch hitter. He mashes from both sides of the plate. He plays a really good defensive third base. He steals bags. He's a leader in that clubhouse, and he loves the city of Cleveland.
Yeah.
I think it's like that Fallout meme where like everybody liked that. That's how fans, I think about this deal. Nobody is waiting for Jose Ramirez to hit the market. We're all okay with him just retiring as a Guardian, being the guy that he has been for that franchise for the rest of his career, and entering the Hall of Fame with that Guardian cap on. I just think this is such a great move for a fan base that has suffered some pretty good, like, defeats and disappointment over the last couple of years in the playoffs and stuff like that, and they got to deal with the School Bowl saga and stuff and the Tigers, the rise of the Tigers in that division. This is just something for them to latch onto and really celebrate as a franchise. I almost said that this is their World Series, but like maybe the World Series is their World Series, and Jose Ramirez does everything he can every year to make that a reality for the city of Cleveland. Loves the city of Cleveland. It's just awesome. It's just super sick. I got no notes, man. This is super, super cool.
It is. To your point about the MLBPA giving this a little bit of a side eye, it's more so because you think about what he could actually get on the market. Like we were talking this offseason about Kyle Tucker getting over 400 million, and I just scoffed it. I scoffed at that. But Jose Ramirez could get over 400 million if he went to the market. Like it's just what he's leaving on the table really gives you a sense of his priorities, and I just hope through his age 39 season, he has just absolutely off the wall numbers. And I want to see him as a first ballot Hall of Famer. I love the dude. I think he needs that.
One thing that's super interesting, and I want to point this out, not to tear down the other player, but to boost up Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez is entering his age 33 season. He is 33 and 4 months. That puts him basically exactly a year and a half younger than Nolan Arenado. And think about the expectation and the production that Nolan Arenado has put on the table over the last 2, 3, 4 seasons, and think about the
Mhm.
production that Jose Ramirez is and is expected to continue to have,
Wow.
it's absolutely astounding, the level of his production, and it's really cool to see him be like reaping the rewards. Like, in a way, this was a deal, like a team friendly deal where they get to give him his money and spread the load out over a bunch of years to keep costs low so that they can acquire more talent. I hope that that's the case, and I hope that this
Mhm.
deal was like counted on during the offseason. It doesn't really appear to be so, because that's what's one thing that's a little disappointing about this, is that the Guardians did not get significantly better this offseason. It seems just kind of like a
No.
cost-saving move right now, and that's a little disappointing. Jose Ramirez got a deal that Nolan Arenado might kill somebody for. Jose Ramirez got a deal that I think Alex Bregman signs if he was offered it in free agency. So it is like he basically got the Bregman deal. The Jose Ramirez
Mhm.
extension is basically the Bregman deal, and he got it a couple years older. And that deal for a guy like that is definitely taking a team friendly deal. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Every way you look at it, it's a great deal for the Guardians, and it's cool for Jose Ramirez. I'm not even gonna say it's a great deal, but it's great for him because of who he is and what he means to Cleveland and what Cleveland means to him.
One of the other things that happened this past week before we get into our NL West division preview was time honored annual tradition, the new top 100 prospects list, excuse me, that is always fun to see, especially with people graduating that list at record pace over the last 3 to 4 years. And Parker, the top 8 teams on that list for most prospects in the top 100, you have the Mariners at number one that have 7 top prospects in the top 100, the Guardians at 6, and then with 5, you have the Pirates, the Marlins, the Dodgers, the Brewers, the Cardinals, and of course the White Sox. So when you look at that, there's a few things that make me go, geez, you got to be freaking kidding me. But what do you think when you hear that?
Well, first of all, the Dodgers being on the list is just unfair. That's actually the unfair part about the whole Dodgers thing. Like the fact that they're on these
Yes.
prospect lists as high as they are, like they're clearly
Still,
doing something right over
still.
there. Yeah. They've traded away every prospect they have 3 times, I'm convinced, and they still manage to have one of the best systems, especially drafting as late as they do every year, which is just a
Yes.
testament to their front office and proof that it really can be done by any team. But when you look at the top prospect list, it really excites me that the Mariners are so high. The Mariners are being number one, how many prospects they have on that list. Because the Mariners are great. I mean, they were, you and I both picked them to go to the World Series at some point in the year once the playoffs started. And the fact that they have this much talent in the pipeline for a team that's been as budget conscious as the Mariners, that's really good for them in terms of developing that talent, or in the same way I said with the Nationals, flipping that talent for more big league talents. Good for them. I like to see it. There's a bunch of guys. Excuse me. Sorry. We see Max Clark as a double-A player entering the top 10. And it feels like Max Clark has been in the minor leagues for like a decade now. At least to me, it
Yeah.
does. Like he was kind of the golden boy a couple years back at the draft, and he's only a double-A. He's 21. He's got all the time in the world. If he makes it
Wild.
up by 24, he's on schedule. So he's
Yes.
actually not rocketing through the minors, but he's ahead of schedule a bit. And then guys like Bubba Chandler just missed out at number 11. We see Trey Savage, who after the year that he had, last season, if he can really put it together and graduate from this list, I'm really excited. This looks awesome. I'm super excited to see how everything goes.
Yeah, it's a fun list, and a couple things that stood out to me is, you have number one prospect in baseball, Connor Griffin, shortstop
Mm-hmm.
outfielder for the Pirates. This is a guy, Parker, that Pirates made it clear uh, in this offseason that Connor Griffin's going to have a shot to win that starting shortstop job, which would be a just
19.
huge 19. It'd be huge. Like, you're talking about players like the Paul Skeens of the world, potential Connor Griffins of the world that are now getting to the majors so quickly. That would be, it has to be some sort of record. I'm sure it is. I haven't even looked at that, but it would be huge for that team. This is a guy that is a all around solid ball player, a 5'6" tool guy. So that's exciting. I don't know that I can't really remember the last time we've had a number one prospect that is as toolsy as Connor Griffin is. So that's number one.
I would imagine Roman Anthony.
Yeah. Is he more toolsy than Connor Griffin? Come on now. Come on. Objectively.
Baseball savant. Yeah, I'll give it to
No.
you. I'll give it to
Yeah, that's
you.
what
I'll
I
give it.
thought.
You mean the
homer.
#2 left fielder in all of baseball by MLB.com? I'm just saying.
Okay, folks, let me just be clear. Parker's still on a high because the top left fielders in baseball just happen to be Red Sox. So just
Both of them.
whatever.
Both
Both of
number
them.
1 and 2.
Yeah, mind you, they both will not play left field, but for some reason, MLB.com thought it was still right
Stick
to
them
put
both
them
out
both
there.
1-2 on the list.
Stick them both out there. I don't care. Honestly, if you just play a shallow left field, why do you need a third baseman? We just
totally
solved
fair.
the infield problems with the Boston Red Sox. There you go.
There we go. There we go. That's why the Guardians gave Jose Ramirez little money because he doesn't
Because
play
you can
left
just
field.
have a left fielder play the position. Yes, absolutely.
What a slacker.
What is third base if not a shallow left field?
That's exactly. Hot corner. I don't really know what you're talking about. So one thing I will say about this list and the Mariners, it's funny because to me, and I say this objectively, people, there are two teams on this list that I consider sleeping giants, okay, which is what I'm looking out for. I think the Guardians still have a ways to go. I think the Pirates, I don't trust their organization as far as I can throw them. I don't think they're sleeping giants. Marlins, Dodgers, they're always giants. But two teams, you already said one, the Mariners. Like the Mariners, I think it's easy for us to forget that they are already a talented ball club up and down. Their rotation is one of the best in baseball. The fact that they have 7 prospects, they're not done graduating really quality players. Also, don't forget, the Mariners do spend money. They haven't recently, but they're a team that can shell out a $200, $300, $400 deal for the right person. So in a couple of years, when they piece that together, sleeping giant without a doubt. The other team, honestly, that I'm looking at as a sleeping giant, it's the White Sox. I mean, I really do truly think that. I think if you graduate some of their players like Hagen Smith, Noah Schultz, and they turn out, you have Braden Montgomery hitting with power and speed from the left and the right side. Like,
yeah,
that is a team in 3 years we could be talking about being an impact team in the American League if all goes well.
Braden Montgomery, Noah Schultz, and Hagen Smith all being AA or higher. That's like September at latest for all of them at the rate that they're developing, especially Hagen Smith being in AA. A left-handed pitcher in AA is one injury away from making a big league start.
Yes.
I can tell you Connor Siebold made starts for the Red Sox coming straight from AA up to the big leagues. A left-handed pitcher being in AA means that they have insane amounts of talent. So Noah Schultz, Hagen Smith, we saw both of those guys when we were down in spring training last year. They both looked absolutely nasty. I love Braden Montgomery. We know about that. You didn't even mention Caleb Bonham. I'm sure you didn't forget about him, but he's down in A+, high A. And when you pair him with a guy like Colson Montgomery, that looks like a fantastic infield that is going to come to fruition. Not to mention they also have Billy Carlson, who's probably trade bait because he's in rookie ball, but like look at him. It looks great. It looks great.
It does. One thing I think you start when you look at these top prospect lists, one of the things I always like to remind people is positional talent really does matter at the minor league level. And that's one thing where I think the White Sox got it really right is, drafting is not about position as much as it is best player available. And they got lucky because they have young guys in shortstops like Colson Montgomery, Billy Carlson, and Caleb Bonham. You know how many teams would kill for 3 very high upside middle of the infield like bats? That's crazy. Like what an embarrassment of riches they have in their system.
Yeah, absolutely. Team agnostic. Who is your favorite name? Just maybe not even your favorite, just like a name on this list, not a White Sox, I say. So maybe not team agnostic, but the other 29 teams, who's your favorite name on this list?
Ooh, that's hard.
I know I just put you on the spot, but
yeah, I'm going to say team agnostic if I'm not going with the White Sox because being objective, I'm really, really high on Braden Montgomery. And the reason why I say that is finding a switch hitting bat that can hit with that much back to ball skill and that much power is it's going away in this game. We've talked about that before. Same with Ketel Marte shouldn't, or no, not Ketel
Hmm.
Marte. Ellie De La Cruz needs to
Yeah.
not hit, needs to hit left-handed or right-handed, whatever you said. So that's something I'm looking at. I think that's very appealing to me. I Outside of the White Sox, though, I would have to go with JJ Weatherholt. I do like JJ Weatherholt a lot, and I think he
Okay,
fits
I
pretty
love
well
that.
in that Cardinals system. He could
Hmm.
play really shortstop, second base, probably a little bit of third after some reps. So I love his defense. I think he's going to be like that slapstick contact hitter that the Cardinals really need right now. They haven't really had. I think of someone like prime David Eckstein, but better than David Eckstein. We'll talk about that for a name. But yeah, I like JJ. I like him a lot.
All right.
What
To
about you?
answer my own question, to answer my own question, I only asked you because I wanted to say something. No offense. There is a bunch of guys on this list that have two positions listed. Samuel Basallo is catcher, first base. Alfie Velasquez is first base, outfield.
Mm-hmm.
There is only one man on this list with as unique of a two-position listing as him, and that is Jurrangelo Seagenth, who is a left-handed pitcher, right-handed pitcher. He throws
Wow.
from both sides of the rubber,
Oh my
and
goodness.
he is listed number 91. He is going to start the year in Double-A, if not higher.
Wow.
And college baseball, I think, is one of the most untapped sports in America. I think that it's a sport with a lot to give that just doesn't get the excitement that it does, mostly because of most other college sports. Imagine a world where you sometimes have the talent disparity like college football, but now you're playing like 60, 70, 80 games a year. I think the College Baseball World Series gets a bunch of love, but the regular season is tough. I watched so many regular season games where Jurrangelo Seagenth was pitching simply because he is a spectacle. If this sport is nothing, it is entertainment. And to watch him pitch is so entertaining because he dials up 90 from both sides of the rubber. And that is something like you have taken the team you are playing against, you have taken platooning off the table. And there is no
Yes.
one else in baseball with that capability. So I'm for intrigue's sake, that is the man that I have my eyes on in terms of making his big league debut.
I mean, can't go wrong with the ambidextrous picture. That's awesome. I mean, that's great. Wow, that's a good one. Really, really good one. All right, so we'll be following that. We'll be looking at what players. A lot of these guys. A lot of these guys you're going to see in the majors this year, which is very exciting. These aren't guys we're going to sit on for a couple more seasons. I'd say about at least 30% of this list you may see make a start or two in 2026.
Yeah.
So
Ethan Holiday, honorable mention. Very excited about him.
yeah, absolutely. The Rockies could. They need something to break their
I'm very
way.
excited
And
for
I
him to
hope
get
it's Ethan
traded. How
Holiday.
about that?
Don't do that, Rockies fans. I'm sorry. That is such in poor taste, but also probably true. Anyway, so let's talk about the NL West. Speaking of the Rockies, we're not going to spend a lot of time on the Rockies. Sorry, for obvious reasons. But what we want to do is kind of talk about how this thing's going to shape out. The NL West is. I think, Parker, when we started talking about division previews, we started talking about, well, the NL West seems to be a good place to start because it seems like it's going to be the most settled, maybe the most predictable. We know how it's probably going to end on the top of those standings with the inevitable Dodgers. We'll talk about that. But when you look at the NL West going into 2026, what team is catching your eye, maybe besides the Dodgers?
There's two, so I'm cheating here. How about this? I'll go with one. I have no clue what to expect out of the 2026 Arizona Diamondbacks. I just don't
Good
know
pick.
what's going to be the case there because we're seeing some prospects being called up over the last year or so where we've got, first of all, Geraldo Perdomo. Absolute beast. We saw him really break out last season. He's only 26 years old. This is going to be his age 26 season. Super excited to see what is the deal with him. Corbin Carroll is a guy who he's only 25, so even a year younger than Perdomo, but could just win an MVP this upcoming season. Nolan Arenado joins that team to replace Eugenio Suarez, who was traded to the Mariners at the end of last season. And like, when you look at the roster top to bottom, the lineup doesn't necessarily like inspire fear, but it's one of those lineups that's like, okay, these guys could compete for a wild card. And honestly, isn't the Diamondbacks the team that straight up said that's the goal? Win 85, 86, 87 games, get into a wild card spot and see what happens. And it worked for them a few years ago. In fact, some people, I saw a couple really good takes on YouTube over the last couple weeks. Some people attribute the current Dodgers posture in terms of free agent signing completely to the Arizona Diamondbacks shocking the world to get to that World Series a few years back, because the Dodgers were like, what is going on when we're letting a team like the Diamondbacks assert dominance over them like they have in the playoffs? Now, this is a team with a lot of question marks. Look at the rotation. The rotation's made up of Merrill Kelly, Ryan Nelson, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brandon Pfaadt, and Mike Soroka. And who knows the return timetable for Corbin Burns. Like that's still a deal that was signed that could end up becoming huge for them, but he will not start the season as an active member of this roster. So, there's a lot of question marks that could theoretically pan out really well. We've got Lourdes Gurriel on this roster as well. But like, what actually is going to happen? And if it's all high end, if it's Corbin Carroll competing for an MVP, if it's Ketel Marte having a really, really good season, if it's Geraldo Perdomo having the season that he had last year, Nolan Arenado having a bit of a resurgence, we could see a really dominant season from these Diamondbacks. We could see them finish second, or we could see them finish fourth. I don't think anybody's going to beat the Dodgers or the Rockies in terms of number 1 or number 5 in this division, but this is the team, I think, with the highest variance going into this upcoming year, and I'm interested to see what happens and how it all plays out.
I tend to be of the belief that I can never fully write off a Torey Lovullo team, number one.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just,
absolutely.
He's such an X factor, and I'm going to say this so many times during these previews. This game, more than ever, is about pitching. And this is a significant gap for this team, both in the rotation, their bullpen, I do not love. I challenge anyone to go through their bullpen and tell me you know more than 2 guys. You don't. So, that's going to be a problem for them, and especially in a tough NL West, which, as we go through these teams, let me remind everyone, almost every team in that division has a stronger lineup than they did in 2025. And who didn't keep up with that? The Diamondbacks, with their pitching and their firepower out of the rotation and bullpen. So I think they're at a huge risk there. I don't see, the standard 8 to 12 starting pitchers you generally need to get through 162. That is certainly not the case with them. I don't know that I trust Merrill Kelly right now slotted as your number 1. That's a really poor number 1. We love you, Merrill Kelly, but you're not a number 1, not even close.
Wait, what do you mean? This guy started the World Baseball Classic final 3 years ago. This isn't the guy that you're super confident in?
They got a little better guy. If you've heard of him, Paul Skeens.
Tarek Skubal? Yeah.
Tarek Skubal, they're a little better off this year. But yeah, man, your variance point, I think it's a good one. I think the variance is there, but it's certainly not a team I'm betting on in the NL West.
Yeah.
Another team.
What about you? What's your X Factor team with most variance? I think it's the other one I almost said, but
I don't know where to go with this. You're asking me the question, but I'm answering it by saying all other teams, like you said, besides the Dodgers and Rockies, I think have a very large variance, because I do think both the Padres and the Giants have a variance. Let's start with the Padres, because the Padres, Parker, I tend to think have sort of the same issue that the Diamondbacks do, just not as predominant. So if you look at their lineup, let's just put it out at the table. Their lineup is still very strong. Anytime you're throwing out Tatis, Merrill, Machado, you're doing well. However, they lost to Dylan Cease, Yu Darvish. He wasn't any great shakes, but you're going to lose him. He's not going to be around for a while. I am not convinced that a inconsistent, injury-prone Joe Musgrove, Michael King, Nick Pivetta, I don't know that those guys, again, in a competitive NL West, that they can count on that five. So I think they really screwed the pooch on reinforcing that rotation because the Padres are a team, Parker, where we've seen their offense carry them over a month, 2 months at the end of September. Like that offense can carry that team. And I tend to think they've gotten pretty lucky over the last 2 years that their rotation in different time frames has held up. But I don't know that that's going to last for them. So you talk about variance. You're going to see in my predictions. I don't think I'm as high on the Padres as I have been in recent years.
Yeah, and they're not even getting listed really in like the rumor mill for guys like Framber Valdez, which is interesting to me. But let's
Yeah.
just shoot into the dark here. What if they sign a Zach Gallen? What if they bring Zach Gallen in to like kind of front load the rotation? I won't say head it up because Michael King I think is your clear number one on this team. Which congrats to them for bringing him
Yes.
back. That's a big move.
Yes.
I don't hate their rotation. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. We're talking about a Padres team that's going to have a rotation. Looks like Michael King, Nick Pivetta, Joe Musgrove, Randy Vasquez, and JP Sears. And I think Randy Vasquez is kind of the guy on the outside looking in on that rotation. I think that if you sign a Zach Gallen, that's the guy that gets bounced. I think the upside for a JP Sears is very good. Joe Musgrove
Yes.
is the hometown kid. Nick Pivetta had a great season last year. And Michael King is Michael King. So if you bring in one more arm, I start thinking about this Padres team extremely, extremely optimistically when you consider the fact that what were we talking about going into the playoffs with the Padres last year? Their bullpen. They have
Yes.
largely the same bullpen that they had last season. There are some notable departures. You know, you have a Robert Suarez leaving, but largely it's the same bullpen when you talk about guys like Mason Miller, Adrian Morjon, Jeremiah Estrada, Wandy Peralta. Like these guys are still there and can still pitch extremely effectively for a big league team. So I think that it's pretty interesting the position that they find themselves in. When are we? So it was October 29th when Yu Darvish went down for his internal brace procedure on his elbow. Do you see him by the end of the year? Do you see a fresh Yu Darvish towards the end of the year? Let's say August time frame. And if you get a guy like that back, while also enforcing the rotation with maybe a Zach Allen or something like that, like I think that this is a really competitive team that on any given day could go out there and win you 90, 91 games and find themselves competing maybe for the number one, number two spot in that division.
I mean, I would love to say that I can count on you Darvish, but I mean, recent news that you Darvish is even considering retirement and talking to the Padres
Wow, I
about
didn't even know that.
getting out of his deal. Right, I know.
Wow.
So that was huge news the other day. But let's continue down this track here because I do think, and this is where I'm confused about the Padres, Parker, because if I'm the Padres, I'm looking at some of these free agent starters that are still out there. You highlighted Framber Valdez, but say you didn't want to spend that much money. Okay, no problem. Like go get a Nick Martinez, bring him back.
Mm-hmm.
Go get a Griffin Canning or Aaron Savale, who had some great starts with the Cubs and White Sox last year, right? Like get one or two of those guys, and I'm feeling better. So I don't understand why a team that claims to be that competitive and can just give 4.5 million in 1 year deals to these guys, just make it happen.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's like their current climate of trying to avoid extensive payroll commitments that really just pitching's expensive. And when you have a rotation that when the light hits it the right way, looks okay. Like, I don't know if you're going to invest a bunch of money that you really don't have into that rotation.
No, it's San Diego. It's San Diego. The light's always hitting the right way. Just sign a damn pitcher, please. Like,
you do have
sorry,
Jason
this
Adam
is not
too
enough.
to look forward to him coming back. Jason Adam had a quad surgery on September 3rd. I would imagine he'd be back with enough time left in the season to make an impact. And anytime you can bring a guy like that back, then that's good. You got some prospects on the horizon. Like I think that, Ethan Salas is somebody to look forward to. Where does he play? I don't know. Like you've already got a Freddie Fermin on that team that's going to hold down the catching position. So there's definitely decisions to be made, but the lineup being what it is, and Fernando Tatis, Jackson Merrill, Manny Machado, Ramon Laureano, Gavin Sheets, Xander Bogaerts, Jake Cronenworth, I was going to stop when I saw a guy that was not somebody I was excited about, but all of those guys are above big league average bats, on their best day. So the lineup in a serviceable rotation, I think we see a similar Padres team and result from last year, but at the end of the day, I don't think either of us are going to be picking them to win the division or win a World Series.
Parker, I'll tell you who I am intrigued by. I'm actually kind of tickled by the Giants. I have questions.
This is the other team I almost talked about.
Because, okay, so let's frame this for a second. So let's not forget that Torey Vitello, previous manager or head coach, I should say, for the University of Tennessee, comes over to the MLB. It'll be an interesting experiment. Oh, me too. I think it's an experiment nonetheless. We'll see how it goes. But I think Tony just has that personality. He is a leader of men. And that's such a culture buzzword. But that shit matters, I think. And so I think he's going to fit really well on a team of predominantly younger guys. But when I look at this lineup, Parker, I guess I'll kick it off to you. We're both feeling this intrigue about this Giants team. What about this team has you really interested in what they're going to do in 26?
Well, you said it. It's the lineup. I think that a lineup, anytime you're rolling out a lineup that includes Heliot Ramos, Rafael Devers, Willy Adames, Matt Chapman, Jung-Hoo Lee, Harrison Bader, Bryce Eldridge, I'm missing all the names again. That lineup's good. That lineup is a good big league lineup that can go out there and do damage against even the best rotations that you're going to see in this NL West. And I mean, when you can count on that and Logan Webb and Robbie Ray, Tyler Mahle, Adrian Hauser, Landon Roop, we'll see how those guys pan out. But I think that there's a lot to be excited about. I do have questions and concerns about the bullpen, but we saw Ryan Walker have a really good season last year. I don't know. I think that JT Brubaker. I mean, come on. There's some guys on this team to be excited about. Yeah, I think we'll get to our predictions in the division, but I think this team inspires quite a bit to be excited about from a lineup perspective. And if you get a borderline Cy Young season that you could get at any time from Logan Webb, and maybe Robbie Ray sees a true resurgence, including his last year that he had with that team, I think we're looking at a team that's going to be pretty competitive in an NL West. That we've seen them literally win 108 games with 107 games with like a mishmash, frankly, of a roster. And, there's some San Fran magic that we've talked about before that you and I are big fans of that could really get a hold of this roster and do some really cool things, especially with the leader of men, like you said, on the top step of that dugout every game.
Their rotation could have some pretty good upside. By the way, Fangraphs does have their 2026 projections out, and they project Logan Webb to have 4.5 WAR, and then everyone else down that rotation are floating around 1.2 to 1.5. So say you get at least that from that group. That's pretty doable. Like, I think if you have a firing offense, that inspires some confidence. I do think Bryce Eldridge, my bold prediction, if I can give one for the Giants, I think Bryce Eldridge is going to crash onto the scene this year. I think he's going to hit some monster bombs, and we're going to be talking about him in June and July. Like, where the hell did this guy come from finally? So that would be the best case scenario for them. So that'll be exciting to watch. But yeah, I don't know. This Giants team, you talk about variance. I could see a scenario where they're still trying to get over that hump, and maybe they're sitting at 70, 72 games. If everything goes right, man, I could see 92 games out of them. Like, really, seriously.
Yeah, no, I agree. Bryce Eldridge is the guy that, as a Red Sox fan, we were like, how did you not get him in the Devers trade? And the fact that the Giants get to roll into this season with like a Bryce Eldridge poised for what could be a breakout. Like, if he did a Nick Kurtz this upcoming season, it wouldn't be unheard of. Like, it's a possibility if he had a Nick Kurtz type season this upcoming year. If you get anything out of Patrick Bailey, like, That's a dangerous lineup, man. And Rafael Devers, I think, with a full season now with this Dodgers team, I think is going to be really good. I think we see a little bit more out of Willy Adames. Matt Chapman's kind of a known quantity at this point. And then like Jung-Hoo Lee just had one of the best couple months in baseball at the beginning of last season. I think if you see that again, this is a really intriguing team.
Did you know that Rafael Devers is going to play first base for them? Did you know that?
I did know that. That's super
Okay, just interesting.
encouraging for the Giants.
One last thing on the Giants, because I almost think this is a typo, and I'm going to have you guess. You're not looking at Fangraphs right now, are you?
I am.
All right, don't look. Go away. I want you to guess this. What do you think is the projected WAR for Patrick Bailey next season?
Projected WAR, I didn't see this, so this is a genuine guess. 2.1.
They have it at 4.6. That has to be a typo.
Fangraphs loves defense, man. And he is maybe the best defensive catcher in baseball.
That's fine. And we know defense inflates WAR, but not inflated so much that he's going to be the WAR leader next year on this lineup. No way in hell.
For Fangraphs, like, let me say this again. Fangraphs loves defense. Fangraphs has Carlos Narvaez. I want to see what Carlos Narvaez's defense or WAR was last season, because he has an outstanding WAR number, I believe, on Fangraphs because his defense was so good. Okay, it's lower than I thought, but 2.7 WAR from Carlos Narvaez last year. They love their defense, and he was very good defensively last year. So I don't know, 4 WAR is overshooting a lot for a guy like Patrick Bailey. But like I said, if you get if you get league average offensive production from him, then maybe you do see a 4 F WAR season.
Dude, if we're getting a 4.6 WAR, Fangraphs are not, from Patrick Bailey, we're having a very different conversation at the end of the year. Like, that would be bananas.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no,
Wow.
I agree. That's a bit inflated, but I like it.
I like the bold. Thanks, Fangraphs, for being bold per usual. They're definitely, like you said, partial to defense and catcher defense, for sure.
All right, you want to take our medicine before we get to talk about the Dodgers?
Yeah. So what's going on? I mean, why? What's going on with the Rockies? I mean, I need to know, Parker. We tend to shit on the Rockies on this show, and it's not because we don't like them. It's because of the reality of their situation. There's nobody other than Rockies fans. You and I want to see them succeed. You and I want to see them competitive. This is a Rockies team with a great ballpark, great history. You're talking about guys like your peak Nolan Arenados, Todd Heltons. They have not been in those days. It has been dark days. So, is there anything you're looking at for this Rockies team this year?
So the lineup, when you look at the lineup, look, I think the Rockies are finishing last. I don't know if they'll be the worst team in baseball history again. I think that's hard to repeat. Like, you'd have to try again, I think, to do that. But the Rockies lineup does have guys like Zeke Tovar, who's only 24, Mickey Moniak, who I do like. Hunter Goodman was one of the better, WAR by WAR, one of the better catchers in baseball. Brenton Doyle's got some upside. Willie Castro's got some upside. Eduardo Julian's got some upside. This is just, what this lineup reminds me of? It reminds me of the Orioles of like 7 years ago, where it's like, there's prospects and there's talent, but everybody's age starts with a 2. And when you have a team that young, that unproven, and honestly, as beaten down as this team has been over the last couple years, I just don't have a ton of expectation for them. I think anything you get out of them is nice to have. What if we had, with the lineup I just said, I don't think it's out of the question to see a similar season from them as we saw from the Marlins last year, which is like surprisingly good. Hover around high 70s, low 80s in wins, and just kind of hang around and be a team that you can't write off of your schedule. I think you give compelling baseball for your fans to watch, and maybe some sort of hope for the organization in terms of developing young talent like that. So I don't know. I'm not here to tell you that the Rockies are going to be world beaters, but like, I like the Rockies. I'm a Boston and Denver sports fan, and the Rockies are a Denver sports team. And having stood outside that ballpark and taken a peek inside and seeing what they're working with in terms of environment and culture and the sports culture in Denver, I think that there's a world where this team, I can't even say catch lightning in a bottle, but at least doesn't roll over this year. How about that?
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think that's all bare minimum, as it should be
Yeah,
for this team.
yeah,
Now, I'm gonna kind of go a little deeper on what I expect from the organization as a whole. And Rockies fans, I'm so in your corner because I come from
you've
a
genuinely been in their shoes.
as I was just gonna say, like I come from a previously inept organization, and I can tell you that I'm actually kind of excited about what could come for them. Let's not forget that Paul DePodesta came from the NFL,
Yeah.
came back to
Came
baseball,
back
and is
from the
now
NFL. This is the person, if you don't know who Paul DePodesta is, this is the inspiration for Peter Brand's character in the movie Moneyball.
yes, yes. And so this guy is paired now also, mind you. They brought in Josh Burns as a GM who's had a lot of success in the Dodgers scouting and player development. And
Mhm.
we were just talking about how they scout and develop players. So that has been the bugaboo for this team is there's a reason why we look at the top 100 list and this inept team on the major level isn't even on the top prospects list for the most top prospects. Like because they cannot add talent and they cannot develop talent. And I do feel like Rockies fans, there are better days ahead. I think they're gonna totally just gut that whole scouting development team. I think you have guys there that know what they're doing. Have been doing it for a long time. I'm not saying this is going to happen in 3 years. I do think we're looking at the long haul still of 4 to 6 years minimum before you start to see that trickle to the major leagues. But that's what needed to happen with the Rockies. I will be looking at what they do behind the scenes in hopes that there's better days ahead in Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah. So the problem that we're going to have in Colorado, it's the same problem they always have. It is impossible to sign a pitcher to this
Okay,
organization that
hold on.
isn't.
No, that pisses me off. I'm getting on my soapbox right now.
Go
All right,
ahead.
listen. All right. You know how when we talk about the steroid debate and we always talk about how, well, steroids doesn't help you make contact with the ball. And that's true. Steroids does not help you make contact with the ball. If you want to be a better pitcher at Coors Field, miss bats. Miss bats. I will agree. The stats, the data from a pitcher ERA plus, FIP, whatever you want to call it, does show a difference. I understand that. However, that team is not relocating anytime soon. That's where they're going to stay. So you need to play to your environment, and that requires you missing bats. If you miss bats, you take the elements out of the picture. That's just what it is.
I agree. The problem that always comes back to my head is like the ball literally moves less there. And when you talk about a game of fractions of an inch as much as we do baseball, I get really worried. And I think that that's, and
Sure.
look, I understand that's overblown. It 100% is overblown. You also have an offense behind you. Like they could score
Yes.
runs too. What's weird to me is that the clear path to success for the Rockies is to do what basically put the rotation on the field that they have right now. I like a Kyle Freeland, Michael Lorenzen, Chase Dollander rotation. I don't love it. And there's no world in which I'm going to love it, but I do like it enough where you could pour money. If you poured money into a lineup in the same like breath as no pitcher wants to go to or to pitch in Coors Field. Everybody
Hmm.
wants to hit in Coors Field, man. You could go out
Yes.
there and make yourself a problem on the offensive free agent market. There are plenty of players. Imagine a world where they just threw enough money at Alex Bregman to be like, "Hey, would you like to come be the face of a franchise?" Because I mean, they to their credit, they tried. They did sign Chris Bryant, but did they really try? Because that's all they did. Well, they only signed
Correct.
Chris Bryant, and he's not going to carry your team. If you were able to somehow get a good offensive development season from guys like Zeke Tovar, from Hunter Goodman, from Brenton Doyle, Willie Castro, if you're able to get that and then next offseason really pour money into this lineup, you now have the fact that you don't have the most dangerous lineup at any given time in MLB means that you're not playing into your strength. So I think that with a guy like Paul DePodesta coming in and with this this front office, kind of turning over and looking into developing more talent, just lean into the long ball. The fact that they're not the Yankees of the National League in terms of just leaning into the long ball, It makes no sense. And you and I are not GMs. We don't do their job, but it seems like this is a pretty clear-cut path to success. And if we do see that over the next few seasons, we could see a Rockies team that's like finishing third, taking games and series off of teams
Yeah.
like the Dodgers and stuff like that. So the path is there. I hope they follow it. We spent a lot of time on the Rockies.
That's incredibly well said. And I'm going to spend a little more time on the Rockies because I want to illustrate what you're talking about. And there's a perfect way to do it. And it's going to go back to a team you know well, the 2007 Rockies.
Mm-hmm.
And your point is valid in that you can get by with slightly worse pitching and a better offense to make up for it, because that's exactly what that team did, guys. I mean, you look at that 2007 team.
Garrett Atkins.
Matt Holliday, Garrett Atkins, 36 home runs, 25 home runs. Troy Tulowitzki, 24 home runs. Todd Helton had 17 he was older, 33. But then you look at that rotation. Here, let me list you some names, and you tell me. Yes. I mean, Jeff Francis, Aaron Cook, Josh Fogg. Those are not lighting up any radar gun. They all had over 4 ERAs. I think if they take that same approach and just add more talent, like you're saying, this is not a foregone conclusion that they're just going to get wrecked out in Coors Field every day. It's not.
No, teams like as a fan of another team, you look forward to the Rocky series in Denver. You look forward to your team getting to hit in that ballpark. So why not have that for 81 games a year? Why not have that same feeling every single time you play a home game? And
yes,
like I said, I think that's the path. You just somebody needs to take it.
Very good. Very, very good. Okay, let's end this talking about, of course, the king of the castle, and that's the Dodgers. Now, Parker, I'll ask you this, okay, about the Dodgers. What is the one thing, if you can name it, and if you can't, okay, but what's the one thing about the Dodgers that you are concerned about? Is there anything that could be their Achilles heel in 2026 that could give these other teams just a sniff of maybe a wild card or a division win in the West?
I guess if you forced me and twisted my arm, I don't think they have the starting pitching depth that they have had over the last 2 seasons or so. I think a lot of those like 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th starters have left the organization. And so right now you look, their top 6 are Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Glasnow, Shohei, Emmett Sheehan, and Roki Sasaki. If Roki does not become a real weapon, maybe Sheehan isn't the best, Tyler Glasnow, you can, at this point, I hate to say it, you can kind of count on Tyler Glasnow missing half the season. That's just kind of what he does. And Blake Snell's not going to be great to start the season, but he'll be great to end the season. So there's your weakness, I guess. And then if your depth is a, 37-year-old Miguel Rojas, if that's your depth and your utility, then maybe that's not the best utility in MLB. Unfortunately, fortunately, there's just not a lot negative to say, though, when you have a lineup that looks like the Dodgers lineup does.
It's kind of wild. I opened this up in prep for this show and reviewed all the rosters. And I opened this up and I literally said out loud, like, what video game shit are we doing here? Like, this rotation is in, like, it's just, I don't know what to make of it. Like, everything is insane. So I do mimic your concern. One thing that could be a concern for the Dodgers is if you do have, for some reason, any of your big bats, a Betts, an Ohtani, a Freeman, go out for any period of time, and especially if it's simultaneously, that could be a concern. I do think the pitching depth, I mean, I tend to think it's not the worst. I mean, maybe because I'm looking at guys in your AAA guys that are looking like River Ryan, Gavin Stone, Landon Knack. That's not nothing, but of course they haven't logged too many major league innings, so that certainly I can see the concern there. I think their bullpen is absolutely disgusting. Don't forget, they added Edwin Diaz. They still have Tanner Scott, Vesia, Trinan, like Gatterall. What are we doing? What?
If Blake Trinan and Brusdar Graterol are the two that I'm like, oh, those guys aren't the best anymore, like, that's incredible. Blake Trinan still has some of the best breaking stuff in baseball, and Brusdar Graterol throws 100. So, like, their bullpen is absolutely insane. We saw even guys like Will Klein have incredible playoff runs, playoff moments there for that team. Dalton Rushing, one of the better catching prospects in baseball, is poised to have as good a season as anybody can playing behind Will Smith and only playing, let's say, 60, 70 games this upcoming season. Like, the lineup is absolutely nuts. But, hear me out. Let's talk about what world would it have to be for them to not make the playoffs? Or let's say not win the division, because they're going to make the playoffs. Max Muncy's human, and he's got to decline sometime. Teoscar Hernandez is human, and he's got to decline sometime. Andy Pages, I think we saw his ceiling last season. I don't think Hyesung Kim is like a world beater. So if you see a lineup that starts to get a bunch of holes in it, is Shohei, Mookie, Tucker, and Freeman enough to really carry you like dominantly to a division? Maybe, probably, but you don't know.
Maybe. You don't know. And
we might start seeing Freddie Freeman finally decline. He's 36.
Yeah. I mean, your point's a good one because I think it's easy to forget that this team is an older team. Like how we talked about the Phillies for all these years being an older team. The Dodgers are an older team. And if you are working, like you're saying, with half a lineup, and let's carry out that exercise and say you have some injuries in the rotation, yeah, maybe you're looking at a weak stretch or two for the Dodgers.
Can you really expect Mookie Betts to continue to play the level of shortstop that you have seen from him at age 33?
Yes, because he is incredible, and I love him
because he's Mookie Betts.
Because he's Mookie Betts. But let's be realistic. Your point is still valid. That will expire eventually.
Yeah, I think you're going to see, and there is no team in baseball more prepared to supplement that roster with money when those players do start dropping. But eventually, you will see regression from guys like Mookie, from guys like Muncy, Teoscar. I think Pages is. I'm mentally prepared for Pages to kind of disappoint this year because I do think last year, after looking at his numbers, I didn't realize how good he was until last episode. Genuinely. Mostly because he was so overshadowed. I didn't realize he played 156 games. He had a 113 WRC, plus he put up 4 WAR. Like, I think all those things have to go right again for him if he continues to be the player that, is being counted on. But yeah, I mean, there's a world where they're not, like, how crazy is it that this is the conversation? There's a world where they're not the best team in baseball. And like, they're going for a three-peat. And until proven otherwise,
yes,
they're poised to do so.
Hey, if you're paying $60 million to Cal Tucker to maybe care about baseball, you're in a good spot. You're in a good spot.
Yeah, you are. You're in a really good spot.
All right, Parker. So we just went a lot of good stuff there. I mean, at the end of the day, how do you see this shaking out 1 through 5?
1 through 5, I'm going to go Dodgers, Giants, Padres, Diamondbacks, Rockies.
You son of a bitch. We do this literally every
We
year.
do it. There's no way you have the same order.
Yes, I have the same order. We did this last year. Almost everything was the same. So we are providing no good content here. But I agree with you. I did have that same Dodgers, Giants, Padres, D-backs, Rockies. And I'll speak to the Giants and Padres. That is where I was going back and forth. But again, I think if I'm weighing the Giants rotation against the Padres rotation, I feel better about the Giants rotation. And I think that's what tips it over the edge for me. I think the Padres, unfortunately, if they don't really compete this year and they don't get 85, 90, not even 85, they don't get 90 plus wins, it's going to be doomsday in San Diego with an aging team and a large payroll. It's going to get ugly real fast for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to find, I think the Zips projections, like you said, they're out. But I want to see what their projections are for standings. Because you know what I'm going to do? I am going to take this flyer. I think the Rockies finish in 4th.
What?
I think the Rockies finish in 4th. I'm preying on the downfall of the Arizona Diamondbacks. How about that?
I thought we were making legitimate predictions, not bold predictions.
I said, okay, this sounds nuts coming from me, and I know that. But you did not poo-poo when I said that the Rockies could have a 2025 Miami Marlins season.
No, No, I didn't. Wow. So here's what I'll say about that. This is this is a great way to think about just all the discussions we have coming up in the next weeks ahead. But I what I love about baseball, truly, my favorite thing about the sport is if you put 9 guys out on the field or in your lineup and you give them a bat and you give them a ball, these are all world class athletes. I don't care if we're talking about an
Yeah.
Avi Pajes or Shohei Ohtani. You put the right guys on a field, and you never know. And that's the beauty of
Yeah.
this game. And we saw it with the Marlins. We saw it with the Diamondbacks when they went to the World Series. You're not wrong, and that's what makes it very exciting every year.
We play 162 of these things. Anything can
Yeah,
happen in any given one of them. So right now, Rockies fans, I'm your biggest fan for the 2026 MLB season.
and I will be the fourth or fifth biggest fan right after Parker.
There you go.
Good stuff, Parker. All right, so we're going to keep it in the National League next week. I think we're going to move right on to the National League Central, so that will be a good time. I'm looking forward to that one. But before we say goodnight, what's your last word, Parker? What do you got tonight?
My last word is pitchers and catchers report. Hold on. I got to look something up. I'm not looking up the amount of days until they report. I am looking up, however, that we have 35 days until the World Baseball Classic and 23 days until spring training games and 13 days till pitchers and catchers report. We're here. We made it. The cold, dark winter ends soon, and we can finally start watching dudes play baseball in the sunshine. And to me, it's the most anticipated time of year for me is the kickoff of baseball season. And so right now is when that ramps up. And we also still have a ton of movement left to be made in the free agent market. Things like Framber Valdez and Zach Gallen and guys like that need to sign. So we'll wait and see what happens there. And I think that this gets a little more interesting if any of those guys go to this division that we just previewed. So I am excited for that.
Heck yeah. One thing I'm excited about too, and you and I get into it, is MLB The Show. 26 is coming. We're starting to
Yeah.
see things. And Parker, they were so coy with their little announcement on the cover athlete, trying to trick everybody. Of course, it is Aaron Judge making a reappearance on the cover, and it looks like we're also going to see some World Baseball Classic stuff in there. So that's pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, trivia question for you. Who is the only other player to be a 2-time cover athlete for MLB The Show? I honestly don't think there's a
question.
world in which you get this.
Is it David Ortiz?
It is not. It is Joe Mauer.
It is.
Back-to-back cover athlete Joe Mauer.
Wow, that is true. Give it up to Joe Mauer, man. I love that.
Love that guy.
That's a great trivia question.
Hall of Famer.
I was playing those Joe Mauer covers on my freaking PSP, dude. Like that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, man. I'm always one of those guys that's going to get, MLB The Show day one and play it until the wheels fall off.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. Well, we'll be here talking about that and a lot more in the coming weeks. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, on Spotify if you're an audio listener only, but we would love for you to follow us on YouTube for, our beautiful faces. So we'll be catching you here next week here on Late Night Baseball. Take care. See you later.